In this video, I'm going to show you how to reclaim the sovereignty of your soul and transform your word into the most valuable currency in the universe in less than 20 minutes. Every time you sell yourself for convenience, an internal path closes, and the cost of this silent betrayal is a life without direction and a heart exhausted from people-pleasing. As someone who has walked for years in the study of contemplative spirituality and the awakening of consciousness, I've learned that peace is not born from the applause of others, but from absolute coherence with your being. You might feel that it's impossible to be authentic without losing people, but the truth is that you only lose what no longer belongs to you, making space for your true inner strength. The reclamation of your power begins with a gesture the world doesn't see, but that your soul feels. Today, you will choose a single situation, no matter how small, where your yes was mechanical and transform it into an honest silence or a serene no. This is not an act of rebellion, but of reconnection. By honoring your internal compass for the first time in a daily detail, you reopen the flow of your integrity and feel, in just 3 minutes of self-listening, the ground of your life stop shaking. The voice of one who seeks the truth doesn't need to shout. It echoes in the silence of one who recognizes themselves. Have you ever felt that subtle tightening in your chest after saying yes when you wanted to say no? That feeling that, to be accepted in the world out there, you had to abandon yourself in here. Today, we are going to walk a path back to integrity, exploring spiritual awakening through our ethical stance before life. The presence we cultivate here is the soil where your inner transformation flourishes, far from empty promises and close to the wisdom your soul already knows. In Yoruba African thought, there is the concept of Iwá Pelé, the good character that sustains existence. Your word is not just sound, it is manifest vibration, a direct commitment to the whole. When you make a promise and don't keep it, or when your speech doesn't mirror your truth, you create a dissonance in your vibrational frequency. It's not about external punishment, but a law of resonance. The lack of integrity closes your internal paths even before any obstacle arises in the physical world. To keep your word is to keep the flow of life open. As ancestral wisdom teaches, those who do not honor their own voice become strangers to themselves, losing access to their inner silence. Your word is the thread that weaves your reality. May it be golden, firm, and pure. When this vibrational commitment to one's own word breaks, we don't just lose credit with the universe, but we begin to grope in the dark, seeking a light outside that we've just extinguished within. It is in this pitch-black uncertainty that many of us fall into a deceptive path, the desperate search for an exit that looks safe to others, even if it costs us our own soul. Often, in our journey of personal development, we fall into the trap of becoming bargaining chips. In an attempt to avoid conflict or guarantee belonging, we muzzle our essence in exchange for a crumb of acceptance. Carl Jung would call this the inflation of the persona, that mask we wear until we forget who we are underneath it. To live to please is to walk in a dead-end labyrinth, where every turn leads us away from our inner north. This invisible price is the fragmentation of the soul. When you sell yourself for convenience, you hand over your inner freedom in exchange for a security that is, in truth, a prison. Remember the metaphor of the vessel. It is only useful because it has an empty space, authentic and available for the sacred. Do not fill your internal space with the expectations of others. But, upon realizing that this labyrinth of masks is a fragile construction, we feel the urgent need for something that doesn't depend on the wind of others' opinions. Thus, a longing arises for firm ground, a foundation that remains still while the world around us insists on shaking under the weight of expectations. We live in a time of turbulent waters, where the opinions of others blow like erratic winds. To keep from being swept away, we need a ground that doesn't shake, our ethical values and our conscious presence. Stoic philosophers, like Marcus Aurelius, remind us that the only thing we truly possess is our ability to choose our internal attitude. These principles are like the roots of a centennial tree in nature. The deeper the external chaos, the deeper your connection to the earth of your own truth must be. Having principles isn't about being rigid, it's about being coherent. It's what African philosophy calls Ubuntu. I am because we are, but this we starts with the integrity of the I. Without an inner axis, you become merely a reflection of circumstances. This solid foundation of principles is what protects us from external storms, but there is a subtler threat that doesn't come from the outside. It is born in the silence of our hesitations, when the ground we've built is tested by the whisper of fear, that dread that tries to muzzle what we hold most sacred to avoid the discomfort of being judged. The most painful betrayal is not the one that comes from another, but the one we commit against ourselves in the silence of the room. Out of neediness or fear of judgment, we trade our truth for an illusion of security. As the poetry of Rumi teaches us, there is a voice that doesn't use words. Listen to it. This silent betrayal occurs whenever you dim your light so as not to outshine those who don't want to shine. The fear of criticism is the jailer of the soul. But think, criticism will come anyway, whether you are faithful to yourself or not. So, why not choose freedom? Listening to the soul requires the courage to endure the temporary loneliness of one who walks with their own truth. Do not trade your eternal diamond for the pebbles of fleeting approval. By overcoming the fear of this judgment, we realize we were never truly alone. For beyond the noise of criticism and approval, there is a gaze that never turns away, a constant presence that needs no words to understand every intention and every sacrifice made in the name of truth. At the end of the day, when the lights go out and the world falls silent, only the solitary witness remains, your own conscience. It is the only companion that sleeps and wakes with you in every choice, in every secret thought. In the wisdom of Vedanta, this consciousness is the unmoving observer behind the movement of the mind. Regardless of the path traveled or what others think of you, the quality of your conscious awakening is determined by the peace you feel when you look into the mirror of your soul. If you are at peace with your witness, the world's court loses the power of sentencing over your life. Conscience is the sanctuary where spiritual truth resides, free from dogmas and judgments. This wholeness is what gives us back command. When we stop wasting energy in the court of others, we realize that the key to the doors of our expansion has always been in our pocket, though we spent years believing it belonged to those on the outside. There is an exhausting weight in trying to always be right in the eyes of others. Ironically, the greatest spiritual relief comes when we accept our humanity and the right to make mistakes in our search for coherence. The court of others is a tyrannical master that is never satisfied. If you are criticized for being who you are, at least you will have the integrity of being whole. If you are criticized for being who you are not, you will have lost twice, your peace and yourself. Emotional healing begins when we stop fighting against our own nature to fit into others' molds. Coherence is the only medicine that keeps us whole, transforming error into learning and success into silent wisdom. Often, without realizing it, we hand the key to our well-being to people who don't even know our heart. To use the opinion of others as a compass is to ask to be lost in the sea of forgetfulness. Reclaiming this key is an act of spiritual sovereignty and reconnection. Recognize that external validation is an illusion that hinders your real spiritual awakening. As Taoism teaches us, when you don't need to prove anything to anyone, no one can take away your peace. The mastery of your life is not control over others, but over your own reaction and faithfulness to your principles. Untie the invisible knot that bound your heart to approval, and walk with the dignity of one who knows who they are. We have reached the point where reflection becomes presence. What if the disapproval you fear so much is actually the exit gate from a life that no longer fits you? I invite you now to a small practice of contemplation. Clench your hands tightly for a moment, feeling the tension of holding onto what isn't yours. And now, open them slowly, visualizing that you are releasing all the keys of validation you gave to others. Feel the weight leaving your shoulders. Breathe and declare to yourself, "My soul has rhythm, my truth has a home." If these words touched something inside you, perhaps it is time to take another step on this path of rediscovering your inner truth. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to keep receiving content that nourishes the soul with presence and authenticity. Share in the comments what resonated with your heart. Your story might be the mirror someone else needed to find. If you seek a safe harbor, know that our community is the sanctuary where fertile silence is shared and deepened. Enjoy the channel's posts. And to continue expanding this field of presence, we suggest the video pinned in the card. May it be a source of inspiration on your journey. Peace and light.